Hey everyone, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. I'm Jenny Olson-Silik, and this week we are on Grand Lake catching jumbo perch through the ice. You won't want to miss that story. We had a blast out here today, and Jimmy and Jordan have some other fun in store for us this week too.
Well, that's right, Jenny. We are pretty excited about that perch fishing story. We're also going to have a late season doe hunt with our own Jordan Brown. And we're going to sit down with the DNR on this week's show and talk about chronic wasting disease and deer management and ask them some of the questions that you have been asking us. So lots of good stuff on this week's show. You stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger. It's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors.
What a beautiful day in the woods.
Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Country Smokehouse, a sportsman's destination since 1988. Featuring varieties of homemade sausage, jerky, brats, and gourmet entrees. Holiday gift boxes can be assembled in-store or online. Details at countrysmokehouse.com. By AnglerQuest Pontoons, a mid-Michigan company building boats for fishermen by fishermen. AnglerQuest Pontoons are designed for comfort and functionality. On the web at anglerquestpontoons.com.
Soaking in the rich tradition of Michigan hunting for over 30 years, Vanguard is proud to sponsor our friends at Michigan Out of Doors TV.
It's been a weird year for ice fishing so far yet this winter, especially in the southern part of the mitten. Well, we are here on Grand Lake just north of Alpena, and we're after some of these jumbo perch out here with tip-ups. So tell us what's going on around here locally with fishing.
We've got some fishing going on some of the smaller lakes around Grand Lake, Long Lake, the floodwaters. There is some fishing going on those lakes. Seeing some perch caught, some nice walleye, a lot of bass on Long Lake.
Okay.
So,
Romeo, tell me what's going on.
Well, we're getting ready to head out on Grand Lake for a little perch and walleye fishing. Got our crew here. Eric McKenzie was nice enough to host all the vehicles so we get everybody out, and we're gonna head out off of Warren Creek and fish about 11 foot of water and jig and do tip-ups and look for some nice sized perch. Done well for the past couple days. Picked up a couple of walleye each time too, so it's been really nice between jigging, tip-ups. So it's really been lucrative for the last couple weeks. I had early ice. We were excited during deer season, thinking it was going to start, and then it got warm, and so we've been kind of fighting that. But it was glare ice. Now we got some snow on the ice, so that's nice, so we're not slipping and sliding, and hopefully to put you guys on some good fish and take some fillets home for you.
Nice.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. So got a good crew. I got my fishing team from our MWT is here, Danny and Matt and Fossil. And Eric, we're staying at his house here tonight, so we're launching out of here. And I got my guys, Nate Cosbit and Seth Hoggerud, who fishes MWT with us as well. So we're excited, thought we'd get everybody together and head out. And away we go.
What are we doing here? You looking for some walleye?
We're looking for walleye right at first light. And so I fished here a couple times this week before Christmas break ended. So I got everything set up and we'll be ready to roll. And we've been pulling some really nice perch out of here too.
There were 9 anglers out here in our group this morning, and they wasted no time spreading out to cover a big area and locate the fish. Gary Van Massenhove was setting up close by. So you're a tip-up guy, huh?
Yep, I'm not too much on the jigging.
Why is that?
I don't know, I've just never had a lot of luck with jigging. In the summer, yes, but through the ice, seems to me I always do better with the tip-ups.
All right.
what we try to do is set up tip-ups right away before we start jigging, and try to see if we can locate where the fish are. Right now we're on a weed bed, and so we're targeting fish in weeds, which are likely going to be perch, hoping the walleye move through. Typically in the morning you'll get them.
Got one perch.
You got a perch on a tip-up, eh?
Yep, one little one so far. Just setting up.
Nice.
So we'll probably let him go. He's not super big.
All right.
There he goes. But good start.
Yeah. That didn't take long, eh?
No. Hopefully that's a good sign. Sometimes it's not though too.
Yeah.
So we're fishing on the west shore of Grand Lake, and there's a huge weed bed that runs almost the entire from that point all the way down to the south end. And this is a huge fish factory for the fall and the summer, and the walleye just hang out here and feed. So in the summer we'll do the crawler harnesses through here, or cranks, depending on the wind, and it's a great troll. It's easy. It's awesome for families because you can do it pretty simply. And so we try to get out here in the winter, and this is one of our first areas that we hit. And the walleye are here. The lake is made up of tons and tons of islands, so it's a tough walleye fishery just because there's so much structure. I mean, you just get lost trying to find rock piles because there's so many. But there's tons of islands which provide all kinds of points and structure and holes, and so it's really a tough fishery, to be quite honest. So we do a club tournament out here, and a lot of times you'll either get 3 or you'll get 10. And it's a tough bite, but it's fun because there's so much you can do here.
Let me guess.
Nothing.
It was almost comical with all the running we were doing to get to all the tip-up flags going off and to find nothing on the end of the line. But once the sun popped up, things changed. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. That's a keeper. Sweet. Hey, that's what's been messing with you.
Just little guys. How's a little guy swallow a big minnow?
Got one on?
Yep, got one on right here. It was spinning really well. Here he comes right there. That's what we're looking
Holy
for.
smokes.
That's what we're looking for. Grand Lake.
Man.
Grand Lake gold, man.
Hoo-wee.
Yeah, that's a nice perch. Nice 13-incher, and just swallowed it. And when I came up, unlike the small ones that are hitting, it was just spinning like crazy. So I didn't even wait. I just grabbed the top and threw the tip up, and he was just lightly hooked at the top of the mouth. And all I'm doing is using just a little yellow flash with a small number 12 hook.
Huh.
And that's it, simple.
That's what we're looking for.
That's what we're
eh?
looking for. We get a dozen of these, and a couple walleye, and life is good.
Nice.
Good job.
Got anything?
Yeah, I got one on.
Woo, all right. There we go.
Just a perch.
Let's see here. Nice. That'll do.
Yeah, it's an eater.
These big old Grand Lake perch started turning on, and the guys were getting into them now. I made my way to the outskirts of our group to see how they were doing. Got one on?
Got one on. Try to get him back through the hole. There he is.
Hey.
Nice fish. I'll take that.
Sure thing.
Beautiful Grand Lake perch.
Yeah. Nice.
Very nice.
Put together a good crew so we could always fish not alone, always fish with somebody. Today we've got some young kids, some high schoolers, some college kids, and just some of my buddies. And so we loaded up and we set up a quick line to try to find the fish. It was boom, boom, boom. We were running flag to flag, a lot of little ones. Couldn't find a good keeper, and then finally just started hooking into some nicer fish as the sun broke, and then it just nonstop. We've been going.
Romeo's nephew Nate was picking away at some nice perch out here, and fishing nearby were Corinne Donikowski and Seth Hogherd, who were also doing all right on the fish. They were just enjoying their Saturday on the ice, and that's what it's all about.
It's just peaceful out here. Like in the mornings, I like to watch the sunrises.
It was beautiful this morning.
It was beautiful. I just like the action.
I really like the tip-up fishing and just the peacefulness of it and the camaraderie.
And that's exactly what it's all about. The peacefulness and camaraderie are two important reasons why most of us love spending time on the ice. Oh, and a few chunky perch fillets don't hurt either. By the time we had to hit the road, the crew had put together a respectable catch out here on Grand Lake. In some places, the season is just beginning, so be sure to make some time for ice fishing this winter.
In Michigan's outdoors.
Woohoo!
Over the last couple of months, we have received a ton of questions and concerns about chronic wasting disease. So in this next segment, what we're going to do is take you on a deer hunt in the core CWD zone. And then afterwards, we're going to sit down with Chad Stewart of the DNR and try to answer some of your questions about CWD.
Well, it's December 31st, back in the tree stand this morning. I'm sitting in the same spot I sat yesterday morning. I saw a ton of deer, had a lot of deer within 100 yards, but not very many deer within bow range. So had a few fawns, but no adult does. I'm trying to shoot an adult doe with my bow. It's been a lot of fun. I love hunting this time of year. We don't have much snow, but there's a little bit. But we're kind of running out of time. It's December 31st, so we got today and tomorrow. And that's it, and we're set for about an inch of rain this afternoon, so that's probably not going to be very good as far as hunting goes. So this morning I brought some backup. I have the muzzle loader. I'm going to try to stick it out with the bow for a while. It looks like the neighbors are off to a good start. I'm going to try to stick it out with the bow for a while, and if it gets later in the morning and I get an opportunity to add a doe with a muzzle loader, I'll probably take it. So we'll sit tight and see what happens. This is a cool little transition zone. Should see some deer. Well, it's been a pretty incredible start to the morning. I've had 8 deer within bow range already. The problem is they've all been bucks or fawns. I would have lost a lot of money on that bet. I've had 4 different spikes come by and a handful of button bucks. I don't know what's going on. There's a ton of does in this area. Maybe it's because I said something about the buck to doe ratio, and now all I'm seeing is male deer, but hopefully we'll have some does come by here soon. There's a couple of deer coming.
Finally, I had an adult doe working her way into range, but this is where it always gets a little tricky filming yourself. I had to guess what direction she would go and set the camera up and hope for the best. Well, that worked out perfectly. Just smoked a big mature doe right here at about 15 yards with my bow. It's been a great morning so far, but all the deer I've had close have been male deer. I got some deer moving here right now. All the deer have been male deer. I've had a couple small bucks and a few button bucks in here. And finally had an adult doe that was actually getting pumped by a little buck come through, and I was able to get a shot. That was awesome. That's not normal for this area to see so many male deer and not see does. Usually that's all you see is does. I'm not sure what was going on this morning, but got a big doe in here, got it on camera. I'm starting to shake. That was pretty cool. This bow hunting thing, it never gets old.
here she is, right behind me here. A big, beautiful, mature doe, exactly what we were looking for. Great blood trail. It's always nice when the equipment does its job. It makes that process as quick as possible. Put a good shot on her, and she only made it 50, 60 yards, something like that. So that's always very important. I'm glad to take a doe out of this area. There's so many of them around. So we're going to get her out of here. We'll run her into the DNR check station, get her checked for CWD. We're in the core area here in Ionia County, so I've been checking every deer that I've shot. No positive cases yet, which is a good thing, but they make the process relatively simple to check, so I'll be taking this one in and thankful for a great way to end the season here.
This doe tested negative for both CWD and TB and was aged at 4.5 years old. There's been a lot of questions surrounding CWD, so a couple of weeks ago we sat down with Chad Stewart to ask him about the future of deer hunting with CWD and also to ask him a few questions directly from our viewers. Well, hey everybody, we are here down in Lansing. We're here with Chad Stewart, the big game specialist for the DNR. We're here a couple hours before the NRC meets in this very room, and we want to sit down with Chad and just talk deer, specifically CWD. And before we kind of get into some of the questions that you, the viewers, have asked us to ask you, just give me a snapshot over the last couple years. How long have we been dealing with chronic wasting disease? Why is it a big deal? Or is it a big deal?
So the DNR thinks it's a big deal. We first identified chronic wasting disease in a captive facility back in 2008 in northeastern Kent County. Our first free-ranging deer came in 2015, that spring. And we've been identifying positive animals since then. And as we've identified new positives and new locations and different numbers of positive animals, our response has changed accordingly based on our knowledge base. So we've been at this now for going on 4 years, knowing that CWD has been our free-ranging deer.
Okay. And what are you doing in those areas where you have found deer? I know there's the core zone, the management zone. Kind of explain a little bit about what are you doing there?
So it's obviously evolved over time. So when you first find a positive animal in a location, one of the priorities is to understand what you're dealing with. So the goal primarily shifts to surveillance, understanding what you're dealing with. And with CWD, unfortunately, there's no effective live test. There is a live test, but the most effective way to determine whether or not a deer has chronic wasting disease or not is post-mortem, so after the animal's died. So we work a lot with hunters and create regulations so we can test a lot of deer to determine what we're dealing with. And then after that, we try to focus on the core area that's affected, or the known area that's affected, and try to remove as many positive animals from that location as possible. And we've used that decision because some other states have been fairly effective at least limiting or slowing the spread of the disease using that approach.
And when you talk about the disease, do we know for sure how it is transmitted between animals?
So the prions have been identified in saliva, in urine, in feces, it's been in blood, it's actually been in skeletal muscle. So everything that we have data-wise supports that the disease can be spread directly from deer to deer. Deer are obviously social animals, they live in social groups. But this prion can persist in the environment as well for a long time. And it's fairly stable and can actually be binding to soil particles and taken up by plant tissue, and it can persist there for years as well. So we do have a better understanding of how it can be transmitted. We're still trying to understand the infection cycle and how that works. So we don't know if one deer is exposed to one prion, if that animal will get sick or contract the disease, or if it takes multiple repeated exposures over time. So we're still trying to understand the dynamics around the transmission, but we have a pretty good understanding of how it's being transmitted.
And if a deer has CWD, and correct me if I'm wrong, from some of the stuff that I've read and just as people read stuff or see stuff online or on different television shows, can it, I don't want to say this, how long, so a deer could have chronic wasting disease and not show any signs for up to?
On average, it's about 1.5 to 2 years. So between actually contracting the disease and showing symptoms of the disease, it's on average about 1.5 to 2 years. It can take longer in some cases. There's been some studies that shows just different genetic makeups can actually prolong that incubation cycle. Might not necessarily be a good thing, actually, when you think that these animals that are not showing symptoms are continuing depositing prions in the environment and contributing to that environmental load. So it sounds good, but we don't know if it is good. But on average, it's about 1.5 to 2 years before they show those symptoms.
Okay. So what we did recently, and I know we had been communicating before we got here, we put a thing out on our Facebook page just saying, hey, we're going to sit down with the DNR, give you a chance to kind of ask us to ask you some questions. And one of the things that, obviously a big part of the regulation change was the baiting issue.
Sure.
That is now banned going forward, at least for the foreseeable future. So let me bring in a couple of the questions here. Brandon Decker wanted to know, why doesn't the public have a say in the baiting ban?
So the baiting ban actually went through our Natural Resource Commission, which is open to public comment. So that was open for several months last year. So the public certainly had an opportunity to provide input throughout our public engagement process. So there was an opportunity to do that for several months. And obviously once the decision is made, it's been made. And we'll talk more about that in the coming months, and certainly people will continue to express their opinions on it. But all of our regulation changes are open for public comment.
And I think one of the big things was maybe folks can make the leap of, okay, I can see banning baiting in the counties where it's been found, but why make it statewide? Why make it all the northern lower in counties that are far removed from any CWD deer?
Yeah, so that's an important distinction. The baiting ban goes into effect January 31st, and it's for the lower peninsula. So we've not passed any regulations for the upper peninsula. So it's not a true statewide ban as it exists today. And it's a great point. And I think it's just the way that we're viewing it versus maybe the way others are viewing it. So we're viewing CWD as a really important disease in terms of the future management of white-tailed deer and even elk and moose in our state. So with that, identifying it as an important piece of our future management, we wanted to take a proactive approach. We don't have enough surveillance history throughout the entire state to make the determination whether CWD exists or not. So just because we haven't identified it doesn't mean it's not there. Mm-hmm. So we feel that in a proactive response, it makes sense to do this.
Even if though those counties, with those folks not being able to bait, you're going to be shooting less deer, most likely.
But we don't know that, and certainly if that's the results that we start seeing, I think we need to revisit it. Okay. But I'm not confident yet in saying that that's going to be the actual response. Mm-hmm. But that's something that we will definitely monitor, and if we find out that our regulation is proving counterproductive to what our management goals are, I think we absolutely need to revisit it. Okay. But I'm not confident.
So that's on the table that could change as new information comes in.
Regulations change all the time, yeah. So as it stands right now, I don't know if there's any discussions on changing it right away, but we want to see what happens with it, and we have identified this as a risk. So the analogy that makes sense to me is if you have a family member that lives in your house and they come down with the cold or the flu, there's still a really good chance that you're going to get sick too because you're living in close proximity with that individual. But that doesn't mean you assume added risk. You're not drinking out of the straw after they're sick. You're not finishing their mashed potatoes that they leave on the plate. And so this is really a risk mitigation approach that we're talking about. And I understand that some people view this as an overreach, and that's their view, and that's a completely adequate view of it. We feel that it's more of a proactive approach in trying to limit the spread of the disease where we don't know it may exist.
Make sure to tune in over the next couple of weeks to see the rest of this interview as we get to more questions from our viewers.
A couple more questions for you. How much money does the DNR get from insurance companies?
Thanks for joining us this week for Michigan Out of Doors. As always, you can check us out online anytime you'd like. Our website is michiganoutofdoorstv.com. You can check out old and new episodes there, wild game recipes, the history of the TV show, all sorts of fun stuff on the website. And you can check us out on social media too.
Well, that's right, Jenny. Social media is a great way to kind of keep tabs on us and what we're doing as we travel around this great state. We're on pretty much all of the social media sites, and we're also on YouTube. If you want to subscribe to the Michigan Out of Doors channel there, you can. Now, make sure that you are joining us over the next couple of weeks. We've got some more really good interview questions that you gave us to ask the DNR about chronic wasting disease and deer management, and we're going to get out and do some more ice fishing all around this great old state. So make sure that you join us right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or greenstonefcs.com. By Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises of Munising, exploring Lake Superior's Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. With its sandstone cliffs, caves, waterfalls, and lighthouses, Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises on the web at picturedrocks.com. By Showspan, producing consumer shows including Outdoorama February 28th through March 3rd at Novi's Suburban Showplace. The show features tackle, trips, boats, outfitters, wildlife encounters, and of course, Big Buck Night. That's Outdoorama in Novi, February 28th through March 3rd.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man.